Oh, sorry, didn't see you there. I don't hate when people do that. It winds me up. I did a quick little preview, and a few people got back to me, said they enjoyed it, gave me a bit of feedback. I said it was quite good and quite informative. So, and then I had a couple of messages this morning saying, "Okay, are you going to do a review about the fight?" I actually wasn't, but here I am. So let me start off by saying this: the fight was definitely much better than I thought it would be. Like, I wasn't actually interested about the fight. Like I said before, it's like, what's the point? Okay, great. I will watch it, obviously, but it can come, it can go. I don't actually care that much. I'm so glad it happened. One of the best fights I've seen in so long. I can't believe that Chris Eubank Senior turned up. At the very beginning, I was saying, I reckon things will happen and then he'll come along. But the longer it went along, I was like, he's not coming. And after all that, you're an embarrassment.
You're a disgrace. You're smashing an egg in someone's face, and then you're trying to justify it. There's no justification for that.
Stuff. Nah, he weren't gonna come. It was over. It's done. He's out of there. Chris Eubank Jr. talking about, oh, you know what pain is? Pain is having your father say, you're an embarrassment. I'm like, yeah, it's done. That's after the fight. Hopefully they can mend their relationship. But at this point now, not happening.
You must be mad. You must be mad. I would never be in your corner.
Then the theatrics happen. And you know Chris Eubank Senior just can't turn up like a normal human being. It's got to be theatrical. So if you missed him getting out the car, then when he came out of the lift and the doors opened and then he walked, Chris Senior something else. But then it led me to think, has this been planned the whole time? I'm now feeling like an idiot. I should have seen it. Has this been planned from the start? Because the ring walk was choreographed. It 100% was. It has to be. But was it choreographed with Chris Eubank Senior being part of the ring walk? Yesterday I was saying, oh, we were duped. But were we? Obviously it was choreographed, but was it choreographed with Chris Eubank Senior as part of it? Because I don't remember Junior coming into a fight with Simply the Best, but maybe because of the fight and because it's against Benn, he threw it in there anyway. But did he do it knowing that Senior was gonna? I don't know. Anyway, the fact that I was speaking about this for so long means it worked. So you may have heard that Conor Benn said that he wants Billy Joe Saunders to be in the change room with the Eubanks to check the rapping. So if you don't already know, each team has a separate change room, as you can imagine, but each team will send one person from their team into the opponent's changing room to make sure that their raps are being applied in the correct manner. There's cheating ways and there's ways that are illegal. And there's a thing called stacking where you put the tape and the bandage and the tape and the bandage, and it's illegal. There's an example when I think a boxer had a cast of some sort applied to their hand. I can't remember, it was Margarito, I think it was, and he had a cast, which obviously makes your hand harden. So when you're punching, you're going to feel that. You have to have somebody from your team in the opponent's dressing room and vice versa. You don't actually have to, but you have the option to do so. Conor Benn decided to choose Billy Joe Saunders, who, if you know boxing, you know that the one person, maybe even more so than Conor Benn, that Chris Eubank Jr. despises is Billy Joe Saunders. So obviously it's mind games.
Mind games.
Throw him in there, disrupt the camp. Billy Joe Saunders goes to the change room. He said, you're not coming in. People are saying, well, can you do that? Well, actually, you can't stop a member of their team coming in, but you can stop an individual coming in. So as long as a member of their team is in and check the raps, it's fine. But it's not going to be you. The whole time leading up to the fight, from the first fight was announced, was it 2-3 years ago? I said Conor Benn wins this fight. As I said in the preview, all the way up to when Nigel Benn started talking nonsense about these spars. And I said, not so sure now. Maybe it's Chris Eubank Jr. When I saw Chris Eubank Jr. miss weight, and he doesn't miss weight, I said, okay, it's a problem. He's going to be drained of energy. His punch resistance might not be what it is. He's going to struggle. I'm going back to Conor Benn. But on the ring walk, I changed my mind. I've got a tendency to do this. I do this. I learned this with Anthony Joshua. Ever since that Ruiz fight, the first Ruiz fight, Anthony Joshua walked into the ring But at this point, Anthony Joshua was as a machine. You can't beat Anthony Joshua. But there was something about that ring walk, but it didn't matter. Anthony Joshua was indestructible. But when I saw that, I thought, you know what? I should have known. And there's certain fighters you can tell in the ring walk. If you want me to predict an Anthony Joshua fight, let me see them walk into the ring and I'll tell you if he's going to win or lose. So when Chris Eubank Jr. walked into the ring, I said, you know what? Chris is going to win this. Points. I said it there and then. My son phoned me, said, we're trying to put a bet on. Who should we bet on? I said, I don't know. I've been saying Conor for the longest time. But right now I'm saying Chris Eubank Jr. I put a text out to all the groups saying, you know what? Chris Eubank Jr. is winning this. I'm changing my mind. And then it started. And Conor Benn came out like an absolute nutbag. We knew he was going to be aggressive, but he went mental. Messing with this, messing with that, jumping here, jumping there. And it was obvious that Benn's not going to last if he does this. For me, the biggest thing of this fight, Chris Eubank Jr.'s ability to slip, duck, and roll under these shots was probably the best thing he had in his arsenal. Because anybody who knows, you get tired throwing punches, of course, but the more you miss, the more tired you get. Conor Benn was jittering, moving, jumping. That takes energy. You swing and miss, that takes even more energy. You've got 12 rounds, you've got 36 minutes. You're only a human being. You're not a machine. You're going to get tired. But how long can Chris Eubank keep slipping you? Some of them are going to get through. And you're already weakened. Can you last 12 rounds? And I started thinking, boy, I was right to begin with, you know. This is going to be Conor. And then in the third round, I think it was third or fourth round, Conor hit him and Eubank wobbled. And then he grabbed him and he started whispering. You can see him talking. I thought the ref was on to Eubank a bit too much though. Every warning, split them up, Eubank, Eubank, Eubank. I also thought at the beginning of the fight, Eubank looked really weak. As much as Benn was aggressive, fast, as we knew he would be, and a bit reckless, Eubank looked really weak. He looked slow. His jab was slow. He was pulling it back in slow. His moving forward was slow. He looked weak. He looked like he had no power in that jab. And he wasn't really throwing that right hand. But as the fight wore on, you were starting to see Benn slowing down a bit. Eubank was still in there. What's funny about this fight is we all knew that Eubank was going to be weaker because of the weight drain. He probably couldn't last long in this fight. He's going to struggle to do the 12 rounds. He's weak. The longer the fight goes on, the energy levels come down and down and down. But then seeing the way that Benn was fighting, we knew that he weren't going to last. He was doing too much too early. And then we started to see it. The energy levels come down and down and down and down. Eubank kind of maintained, I said he was slow from the start, but he kind of maintained that pace. And after the 11th round, I texted everyone, I said, 12 round is going to be mental. I jumped out of my seat. At one point, I thought Benn is gone. He's out of it. He's done. He's done. Don't know how he survived it. But when he survived it, you looked at Eubank and Eubank had given him everything. And Benn didn't go down. And Benn said, right, now it's my turn. I thought, Eubank's got nothing left. And Benn went for Eubank. And then Eubank turned it around again. Oh, it was crazy. The one thing I regret is not scoring this fight myself. I never do. I just like to watch the fight. And when people say, who do you think's got it? Like, it's hard to tell. Scoring a fight is very different to actually watching a fight. And people need to be aware of this. People say, oh no, it was a close fight. Oh no, the scorecards were too wide. Like, it's very important that people recognize this. You can have a very close fight that is completely one-sided on the scorecards. It's very important. If you see a 12-round fight where the scorecards are 12 rounds to this person and no round to that person, it can still be a close fight. It sounds like it's a whitewash. Every round given that person, it wasn't even close. That person annihilated that person. No. Imagine it was so close every single round. By that margin, that means it's a very close fight. If we're doing it on numbers of punches, and that person hits with 101 punches, and that person hits with 100, how close is that? It's unfortunate. But then when you total it up, whitewash. So cards, don't read too much into these cards. But it seems that the majority of people thought that Chris Eubank Jr. won. Will there be a rematch? I think there is the possibility of them having a rematch. I'm pretty sure Conor Benn will want a rematch. If I was Chris Eubank, I wouldn't want a rematch. To put your body through that, lucky to have come through it, because that could have gone so wrong. He wasn't in the post-fight conference. Apparently he had to go to hospital. They said a broken jaw, but I think this morning I've seen Ben Shalom say it wasn't a broken jaw. But why would you put yourself through that again? That weight drain has got to be a killer. I wouldn't do it if I was Chris Eubank Jr. But who knows? Apparently you got about 8 to 10 million from that fight. Ben probably got somewhere around the same. Nobody's a loser in this fight. The only thing I'd say about this fight is nobody after that should have an L on their record. Nobody. To even come away from that fight with a draw on your record, you don't deserve a draw. So both of them should be proud. Nobody's lost. Everybody's stock has risen. Everyone's rating Ben. Everyone's rating Eubank. I remember saying before the fight, if Ben loses, he might just break down in tears in that ring. And I think he was close. I think he was close. I think that's enough of my review. I don't know if I'm going to do previews and reviews. I might do previews and reviews of fights. I think the next match that I'm interested in is the rematch with Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. I'll probably do a preview and a review of that one.